Okay, is my screen visible? Visible?
No, sir.
Okay, what about now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Right then. So let us start with the class. So in my last class, we actually started with support reactions. That is actually application of Berigman's theorem. I told you about different types of supports we have. We have simple support, pinned or hinge support, and we have a roller support. In simple and roller support, there will be only one reaction, which will be in the vertical direction. In the pin or hinge support, there will be two reactions. So how to judge whether how many number of reactions will come is you can see in simple support and in roller support, in both the cases, the beam actually cannot move in a vertical direction. Okay, the beam, this is the beam, this one is the beam, which cannot actually move in the vertical direction in both the cases. So this one and this one cannot move in a vertical direction. Hence, there will be a reaction in the vertical direction. But in case of a pin or hinge support, the beam cannot move in horizontal direction. Also, it cannot move in vertical direction. Hence, there will be two reactions which will be developed in the pin or hinge support. Now, when I come to fixed support, the beam either cannot move in a horizontal direction nor it can move in a vertical direction. Also, the beam cannot rotate. Okay, I mean to say the beam cannot rotate in this fashion. The beam cannot rotate actually in this fashion. Just a minute, students. Yeah, the beam actually cannot rotate in this direction also. Hence, there will be a reaction, but which will be in a moment form. So the beam cannot move in vertical direction. That's why we have a vertical reaction. The beam cannot move in horizontal direction. That's why we have a horizontal reaction. Also, the beam cannot rotate about this support. Hence, we have this moment as the one of the reaction. So this is a very basic thing what you have to understand in types of supports. Now, when I come to types of beams, okay, there are the first one is a simply supported beam where one end of the support is a pin and the other one is a roller. There is a cantilever beam where one end of the beam is fixed and the other end of the beam is free. Free, I mean to say there is no support here. Okay. There is a third type of beam called continuous beam when the beam is over two or more supports. Okay, such type of beam is called a continuous beam. You can see continuous beam. Okay, so then we have a overhanging beam where one portion of the beam is overhang beyond a support. Okay, so this portion of the beam is overhang beyond this roller support. So this type of beam is called a single overhanging beam where only one side of the beam is overhang beyond this roller support. Also, there could be two overhanging beam, that is double overhanging beam, where this side and this side, that is left hand side and the right hand side of the beam are overhanging beyond a support. So this type of beam is actually called as a double overhanging beam. Then I told you about types of loads. So we have this type of load called point or concentrated load, where the load is acting over a small area. Okay, over a small area, the load is being acted. So this type of load is called a concentrated load, and its unit is either kilonewton or newtons. Then we have uniformly distributed load, where the load is uniformly distributed over the entire length of the beam. Okay, this load is being distributed uniformly. Means if I say this width and this width are same, right? Throughout it is same. So this type of beam, this type of load is actually called as a uniformly distributed load. Means the term itself tells you uniformly, right? And its unit is either kilonewton meter or newton meter. Then we have uniformly varying load, where at this end if you see the load is zero, and at this end if you see the load is maximum, and over this entire span of the beam, the load is uniformly varying, right? It is not like this. Suppose say this is your beam. Suppose say this is your beam, and here the load is 0 and here the load is maximum, and the variation is not like this, right? Okay, this is not a uniformly varying load because the load is not uniformly varying, it is fluctuating, right? So this is actually not called a uniformly varying load. So this is called as the uniformly varying load. Then we have concentrated movement. So at a particular point, there could be a movement which will be applied on the beam. So this type of load is called as a concentrated movement. Okay, so this is just a quick revision of whatever we have learned in the previous class. Then next, we would like to learn how to actually uh, transform this uniformly distributed load and uniformly varying load to an equivalent point load. Okay. Now how to represent this uniformly distributed load into an equivalent point load, and how to represent this uniformly varying load to an equivalent point load. So because in the numerical examples, you may have to convert these loads to get the further answers. So let us see how to do that. So first what I will do, I will draw a beam. Let us say this is a beam and it is being subjected to means it is a simply supported beam. So we have a pin support here and we have a roller support here. Okay. Let this beam be subjected to a uniformly distributed load. So it is being subjected to uniformly distributed load, something like this. Okay, right. Let the intensity of this uniformly distributed load be W kilonewton per meter. Okay, so let the intensity of this is W kilonewton per meter, and the span of the beam, that is I told you span means from this end to this end. Let the span of the beam is say L. Okay, let the span of the beam say L. Now I need to convert this uniformly distributed load to an equivalent point load. How to do that? So what I will do, so listen students with this, listen to this very carefully because this is very important. Okay, so I will draw the same beam once again. Okay, so this is of span L. Now what happens here is the equivalent point load of this uniformly distributed load acts exactly at the center of this beam. Acts exactly at the center of this beam means this length, that is this total length is L, right? So this will be, if it is exactly at the center of the beam, then this should be L by 2 and this also will be L by 2. Okay, right? So it is here exactly at the center, right? And what will be its value? Its value will be simply the uniformly distributed load intensity W multiplied by the total length over which the uniformly distributed load is being acted, that is L. Okay. I will repeat once again. So to convert this uniformly distributed load to a equivalent point load, the equivalent point load acts exactly at the center of this uniformly distributed load area. Okay, in this case, fortunately, the uniformly distributed load is being applied over the entire length of the beam. Now the point load acts exactly at the center of this length, that is here, right? And what is its magnitude? Its magnitude is nothing but the intensity of the uniformly distributed load W multiplied by the span L. Now what will be its unit, right? So I told you always the point loads will be having unit either kilonewton or Newton. Let us see what will happen here. So in this case, what is the unit of W I have given? It is kilonewton per meter. Its unit is kilonewton per meter multiplied by, let us say L is in meters. So kilonewton per meter multiplied by meter. So this meter will go and you will get its unit as kilonewtons. You will get the unit of the point load as kilonewtons. Are you clear, students? Any doubts here? Any doubts, students? Am I audible? Am I audible, students?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, any doubts here? Okay, so this is how we do the conversion of, this is how we do the conversion of uniformly distributed load to equivalent point load. Equivalent point load. This is very important because most of the numerical examples, whatever we do, we frequently do this conversion, right? Okay. Now this is regarding converting uniformly distributed load to an equivalent point load. Now how about converting an equivalent varying load to a point load? So that is also very important. So let us take the same beam once again. Okay. Same beam being being a simply supported beam. That is one side it's a pin support and on the other side it's a roller support. Okay. Let that be subjected to an uniformly varying load. I told you. Okay. Let this also be having a intensity of W kilonewton per meter. Okay. And let the span of this beam be L. Okay. Let me call this as a point A and point B, right? And I can recognize that this is having zero intensity, means the load is zero here because the intensity of the uniformly varying load is zero intensity. And at point B, it is having maximum intensity. Okay. Now I would like to do the same process here. That is conversion of uniformly varying load to an equivalent point load. So what I will do once again, I will draw the same beam. Okay. So same reactions will come here. Means the supports. Right. Okay. Now what happens? Now the equivalent point load of this uniformly varying load acts somewhere here. Okay. Now it is not exactly at the center of the beam, right? Because it is not a uniformly distributed load now. Now it is a uniformly varying load. Now it acts at this distance At what distance actually it asks, I mean to say actually at what distance it acts, right? I will show you here. So if this L is the span of the beam, the equivalent point load of a uniformly varying load acts at a distance of L by 3 from the maximum intensity and 2L by 3 from the minimum, that is from the zero intensity. I will repeat once again. From the zero intensity, it acts at a distance of 2/3 of L, that is 2/3 of L, okay, 2/3 of L. And from the maximum intensity, it acts at a distance of 1/3 of L. Okay, let me just write it clearly so that it will be easy for you to understand. So from zero intensity, it acts at a distance of 2/3 of L, where L is the span of the beam. And from the maximum intensity, it acts at a distance of 1/3 of L from the maximum intensity. Okay, where L is once again the span of the beam. Now we have located where it acts, but how about what is the magnitude of that? Its magnitude is nothing but half of base of the uniformly varying load. That is, base of this uniformly varying load is L multiplied by height of the uniformly varying load. That is, height is nothing but W. Okay, now what about the units? So once again, we know length is meters and W is in kilonewton per meter. So this M and this M will go, and here also the point load will be having a unit of kilonewton. So this is how we do the conversion of uniformly varying load. Okay, let me write it. So this is how we do the conversion of uniformly varying load to an equivalent point load. So are you clear, students? Any doubts here? Any doubts, students, regarding this conversion? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, right. So once this is done, let me take one very simple numerical example and will tell you how to what will be actually done. Okay, we'll see one simple numerical example. Numerical example 1. Okay, on support reactions. Okay, now what will be asked is find the support reactions for the beam shown in figure below. For the beam shown in figure below. Let me draw the beam. Okay, so it is actually a simply supported beam because on one side it is pinned support and on the other side it's a roller support. Okay, uh, let this beam be subjected to a point load, say somewhere here. Okay, let this point load be say 100 kilonewtons. Let the magnitude of the point load is 100 kilonewtons. Now this distance, let this distance be say 5 meters, and let this distance be say 3 meters. Okay, let me call this as a point A. Let me call this as a point B, and let me call this as a point C. Now you need to find the value of the support reactions. Okay, so let us proceed. So first we need to mark the support reactions. So I told you where the reactions will come at the supports. So here it is a pinned support and here we have a roller support. And I've already told you for a pinned supports, there will be two reactions. One is the vertical reaction and the other one is the horizontal reaction. And at the roller support, I told you we have only one reaction, that is the vertical one. So let me name these things. So I will name this as say vertical reaction at A. OK, and I will name this as say yeah, horizontal reaction at A, that is HA, and I will name this as a vertical reaction at B, that is VB. OK, now I would like to ask you all one question. By seeing these forces, I will mark them. This is one, this, this, and this. Can anybody tell me, are they concurrent forces or non-concurrent forces? Are they concurrent forces or non-concurrent forces, students?
Non-concurrent.
Okay, how you say it's a non-concurrent force? How you can say it's a non-concurrent force?
So they come from different points, sir.
Yeah, a simple thing what you can say is, if you extend the line of action of all these forces, the line of action of all those forces will not meet at a common point. So I can say that all of them as a non-concurrent forces. So here we can apply the equations of equilibrium and we can use the Verringen's theorem to find the values of HA, VA and VB. Okay, so find the support reactions means you need to find the values of VA, HA and VB. So that's it. Okay, you need to find the values of these things. So that actually will complete this numerical example. So let us proceed and check how we can find them. So since all of them are non-concurrent forces, I have already told you while telling you about equilibrium. So when there are non-concurrent forces, three equilibrium equations can be applied. One is summation of Fx equal to 0. Another one is summation of Fy equal to 0. And the other one is summation of moment equal to 0. OK, so the sign convention what you have to follow for summation of Fx equal to 0 is all the forces in this direction is positive. For summation of Fy equal to 0, what sign convention you have to follow is all the upward forces are positive. And for moment, what sign convention you have to follow is all the clockwise movements are positive. So this is a very important thing what you have to remember. OK, when you are actually applying the equilibrium equations. OK, so these are the equilibrium equations for a non-concurrent forces, equilibrium equations for a non-concurrent force system. And we are going to use these three equilibrium equations only in this example to get the values of HA, VA and VB. So let us do that. So there is no hard and fast rule like in this sequence only you have to apply. You can follow any sequence. You can apply first summation of Fy, or you can apply first summation of Fx, or you can apply summation of M also. Okay, let us start with one thing. So what I will do, I will start with applying summation of Fx equal to 0. Summation of Fx equal to 0. Sign convention is all the forces in this direction as positive. Now what you can imagine is like, say you can take point A as the origin, and you can consider this as your x-axis, and you can consider this as your y-axis. Initially for few problems you can mark like this. Later on no need to mark this. Okay, it is understood by default. Okay, first I will apply summation of Fx equal to 0. Now you check in this system how many forces are there in x direction. And if you see that this 100 VA and VB, actually all of them are in the y direction, but the only HA, this HA only is in the horizontal direction. So I should write it as HA here. Okay, and what sign convention you are following? So all the forces in this direction as positive. So your HA is also in the positive x-axis. So I should write it as plus HA. And you see no any other force is there in the x direction. Hence HA is 0. So first value you have already found. That is HA support reaction is 0. That is the first value you have got. Next only left are VA and VB. Let us find out for them also. Next what I will do, let me apply next equilibrium equation, summation of Fy equal to 0 with sign convention, all the upward forces as positive. Okay, let us check how many are there. So there are three forces, VA, VB and 100. So VA and VB both are in the upward direction, that is in the positive Y. So I can write them as plus VA plus VB. But the 100 is in the downward direction. So I should write it as minus 100. Okay, no any other force other than VA, VB and 100 are in the Y direction. So equal to 0. So what I can do, I can just rewrite this as VA plus VB is equal to 100. Okay, call this as equation 1. You can see there are two unknowns are there, so you can't solve. So you have already applied. See, you have already applied summation of Fx equal to 0. You have done that. You have done with this. You have done with this summation of Fy equal to 0. Now the only left out is summation of M equal to 0. OK, now the point is at which point you have to apply summation of M equal to 0. Listen carefully, students. You can either apply moment at A equal to 0 or moment at B equal to 0, not at any other points. I mean to say moment at C equal to 0 you cannot apply. You either can take the moment of all these forces at point A, or you can take the moment of all these forces at point B. Only 2 points, no any other point. So what I will do, you can take any one. OK, you can take any one. It's your choice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take moment at A equal to 0. Moment at A equal to 0. And sign convention is all the clockwise movements should be considered as positive. Means what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take moment of all these forces at A and equate them to 0. Right? So let us start. So let me start with VB. So VB at A will actually cause, OK, that is VB is the force multiplied by the perpendicular distance is 3 plus 5, that is 8. But if you check, VB at A is actually causing an anti-clockwise movement. If you see, it is actually causing an anti-clockwise movement. So it should be written as minus. OK, so this is done. Now come to 100 kilonewton. So 100 A. So that is force is 100 multiplied by the perpendicular distance is 5. And if you see 100 at A will actually cause a clockwise movement. So it should be considered as plus. Okay, what about VA at A? The moment of VA at A will be 0 because no perpendicular distance. The moment of HA at A will also be 0 because that is also not having any perpendicular distance. So equate this to 0. Now in this equation, if you see, there is only one unknown, that is VB. So I can find VB as, so if I take it on that side, so it will be minus 100 minus 500. This is also minus VB minus 500 divided by 8. So this I will get it as 62.5, that is minus 62.5 kilonewtons. So this minus and this minus will go. So your actual value of VB is 62.5 kilonewtons. This is the value of reaction at B, that is VB. Now you know VB, you can directly substitute this value of VB in this equation 1. So that is VA plus VB, you have already found out 62.5 equal to 100. So you can get the value of VA, which is equal to 100 minus 62.5. So you'll get value of VA as 37.5 kilonewtons. Are you clear, students?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts you have here? See, I have not done anything, right? Simply, I have actually used only these three equilibrium equations. OK, only these three equilibrium equation. One is summation of fx equal to 0 I used. Another one is summation of fy equal to 0 I have used. And another one I used summation of ma equal to 0. Using only these three equilibrium equations, I was able to calculate the values of HA, VA and VB. Now, the beauty of these type of problems are you can immediately check whether your answers are correct or not. OK, I'm repeating again. You can immediately check whether your answers are correct or not. How to check them? Let me just give you two cross checks what you can do. OK, so the first cross check is, I will just write here. No need to do this cross check in the exam. OK, but in a rough page, you can do this cross check so that you will come to know whether your answers are correct or not. The first cross check is total downward. OK, total downward load should be equal to total upward load. I will explain you what is the meaning of this. Total downward load should be equal to total upward load. Now, what is the meaning of this one? See here, I will come to beam. So what is the total downward load? The total downward load is 100. OK, so write it here as 100 equal to what is the total upward load? VA plus VB. So what is VA? 37.5 plus 62.5. So 37.5 plus 62.5. If you check this, so it is 100 is equal to 100. So first cross check is done. Correct. OK, now there is one more cross check. What is that cross check? If you see here in the beam, so this 100 is not exactly at the center, right? OK, let me draw the center line of this beam. So 5 plus 3 is 8. So the center line is somewhere here. That is, this distance is 4 meters and this distance is also 4 meters. OK, right. So you can see this 100 kilonewton is actually falling on a right hand side of the beam. Right. So this is the right hand side. This is the left hand side of the beam. Right. So your 100 kilonewton is actually falling in the right hand side of the beam. So your VB reaction should be more than the VA reaction. I will repeat once again. Since 100 kilonewton is falling in the right hand side of the beam, VB reaction should be more than the VA reaction. Let us check whether it is OK or not. So VB is 62.5 and VA is 37.5. Hence, your VB reaction is more than VA reaction. I will write it here. So since VB is more than VA reaction, so the second cross check is also OK. So when these two cross checks are correct, it means your answers are 100% correct. Are you clear, students? Are you clear? Any doubts? Any doubts, students? Right. OK then. So what I will do, I will stop my class here only. In the next class, we will solve some more numerical examples on the support reactions. Right.